Hello and welcome to America. It's May 1998 and once again we're on the eastern seaboard of this magnificent country. We're staying at our friends Stanley and Paul. We're about an hour and a half away from New York. And the house behind me was begun originally, the right-hand section, 1703. And I think we've got a little guided tour of the garden. Your host is our friend Stan Nelson. He's going to walk me around the garden and show me all his beautiful plants. What do you call this garden?
I call this the Sissinghurst of the New World. These are the flowers over here, and these are the brackets. The beautiful snowball viburnum and the exotic white tree peonies.
How long do they last?
Just maybe a week or so, and the rain plays havoc with them. Well, that one was planted because it matches my bedroom.
What do you feel each time you come up the drive?
You feel like you've arrived somewhere that's just unusual.
It's an occasion, isn't it? An occasion.
Of course, last night you arrived to 3 fireplaces, champagne and caviar in the front hall.
Yes, that was quite nice.
And not everybody has a fireplace in the front hall.
No, that's true.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good morning, good morning.
Very good.
This is a bed and breakfast, but you've got to make your own breakfast in your own beds.
Up here is the Minstrels Gallery, where people can come and entertain us with music. It's a really beautiful room. This is the place that Stanley buys all his lovely bulbs from. You come and see them on display, and this is probably the best time of year. You can go inside and order them.
That is our centennial bell given to us by Queen Victoria.
Lovely sound, and we're going to see the Liberty Bell. You should have returned it though, because it's faulty. It's got a crack in it. I think you should have got your money back.
They did attempt to fix it.
That's our lunch being cooked there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Excuse me, could we move the line down just a little bit, please? Thank you.
So that's a Philly steak. It's like an open sandwich with thin strips of steak and cheese. You've got peppers, tomato sauce, mushrooms.
Alfred's Alley, this National Historic Landmark named for blacksmith Jeremiah Alfred, has been continuously occupied since 1713. But please respect our privacy because the street is inhabited by the people who actually live here. It's a living museum.
These houses are the same period as Stan and Paul's house, about early 1700s, and the bricks came over as ballast in ships and then were removed and used to build houses.
In the early days, it wasn't a municipal fire department. It was pure volunteers, and you bought a plaque for so many dollars, and you put it on the front of your house. If you had a fire, the fire company would come down and see you had the plaque, they put the fire out. If you didn't have a plaque, they went away.
Look up on the second floor.
By the window. That's called a busy box.
A busy box.
And they were mirrors that were angled so they could see who was at
Oh,
the front
brilliant.
door and who was coming up and down the street.
Oh, excellent.
See? You got 3 views.
I've never seen that before.
Okay.
This is the view in the Rocky movie from these steps. There's Rocky just checking his watch, and off he goes.
We have 1,000 acres to see, so we're going to have to run through it. To the right is the Italian formal garden. There are 4 squares here. The 2 in the front are larger and wider than the 2 in the back to create the perspective of much more depth than there is. This is the tropical garden. It takes your breath away, and to think we have all the gardens besides this.
Longwood Gardens were laid out by another member of the Dupont family. This is extremely wealthy family of American chemical makers. They invented nylon and Bakelite and plastic, and with all the money they made, they created these fabulous gardens. Welcome to New York. I'm on board a helicopter above the skyline of Manhattan, the most dramatic sights you'll see. It's a bit hazy, but I think you'll agree that the pictures we're getting are not bad. It's where all the immigrants used to come in to New York. Ooh, isn't that lovely? Well, now you join me in Wall Street, the junction of Wall Street and Broad Street, in fact. This is the world-famous financial district. It's the heart of New York's financial world. Famous every day. The Dow Jones Index is quoted every day on the television, named after Mr. Dow and Mr. Jones. If you pull out behind me, you'll see the world-famous New York Stock Exchange. The front of it's very classical in style. That shows you where we are. Down in the southern tip of Manhattan. Time to visit the World Trade Center now. The heart of the financial district, Wall Street and that area. That boat there's just passing under the Brooklyn Bridge, and behind it is the Manhattan Bridge. There's the Chrysler Building, glinting in the late afternoon. To the left of it, the Empire State Building. It's the second tallest building after this one, the World Trade Center, where we're sitting, 1,000 feet up, over 1,000 feet up over New York. It's Manhattan skyline straight ahead of us. That's the second tower of the Trade Center next door. slightly hazy, but that is the Statue of Liberty on its island. Is it the same height as us? 1,000 feet up.
Summer journeys to Niagara and to other places aggravate all our cares. We'll save our fares. I've a cozy little flat in what is known as Old Manhattan. We'll settle down right here in town. We'll have Manhattan, the Bronx and Staten Island too. It's lovely going through the zoo. And tell me what street compares with Mott Street in July. Sweet push carts gently gliding by. The great big city's a wondrous toy, just made for a girl and boy. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy.
Hi there, this is the ultimate site in New York. This is the Empire State Building. It was the tallest building in America for 40 years, and amazingly it was built in 1931.
I'm in a New York, I'm in a New York state of mind.
Here I am in Times Square, the heart of the entertainment business in New York. It's pizzazz, showbiz. This is the area. 42nd Street's just behind me. Behind me all the lights and glitz. Times Square's named Times Square because number 1 Times Square was the building that was occupied by the New York Times.
New York, life in the city can be so hard. In the evening, the real me comes alive. I can feel it. In the evening, something happens that I can't describe, but it helps me to survive. It's like magic, like something in the air. You can feel it.
It's all go here in Times Square. We've got the fire services everywhere, fire engine and ambulance. As you know, whenever you join us in America, there's always a bit of action. Good day, nice to see you. And welcome to the Nemours house, another of the Dupont family's house. The noise you can hear is the noise of this absolutely beautiful fountain, not even visible from the house. And what is this we're looking at? The sunken gardens?
We're looking at the sunken water gardens.
They were constructed
between 1928 and 1932, which was during the height of the crash. The crash of the Depression was in 29.
So it didn't affect them much?
Oh, not at all. He was able to hire people for $1 an hour to work like slaves out here building the whole thing.
Well, isn't it beautiful? It's made of marble, everybody, from Rome. So that ends your tour of Nemours House. I hope you've enjoyed it, that you've enjoyed the architecture, and particularly some of the garden layouts.
Please keep exploding bombs so that the Duponts can keep making money.
Oh, right. It'd be a pleasure.
This is the country house of the Biddle family called Andalusia.
I think that's the one we want. I'll tell you why that's the one we want. Just look where it is.
Yes.
Have a look at that. That's our guests arriving for lunch over there.
Andalusia on the Delaware.
Direct service, Washington, D.C.
So we've arrived in Washington, D.C. This is Union Station. Amazing ticket hall. It's built to look like a Roman baths with all these Roman statues on. You've got a marble floor here.
So here we are in Washington, D.C. I'm standing in front of the Jefferson Memorial, which was dedicated to the third President of the United States of America.
Well, the building behind me needs no introduction, of course. The White House, occupied by every single president of the United States bar one, George Washington. When he took up office, it wasn't completed. It was in fact completed in 1829. It's obviously a quiet news day because there are no other journalists around. This is the spot they always report from. I can tell you the big news story just coming in is that President Clinton is now just finishing his lunch, his first course, and he's heading for the main course, and then it'll be dessert after that. So this is Mark Callum reporting for the BBC from Washington, D.C. This is where all the correspondents do their pieces to camera, and they're from Mexican television. Now you're looking at the Washington Monument, which was completed in 1884. It's just under 600 feet high. Hello, ducks. Well, that's the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial. So how about that for a pretty view? The reflecting pool behind me, which, appropriate enough, is reflecting the Washington Monument needle, not like an obelisk, 600 feet high. Let's go and have a closer look at Abraham and his monument. And the story goes that his eyes follow you around the room, his vast hall. Wherever you wander, his eyes are watching you. Vietnam Veterans Memorial, recognizing the 58,000 Americans that lost their lives in the fight in Vietnam. For a visit to the Space and Flight Museum. This is the front section of the Enola Gay, which is extremely well known. So this is the inside of a museum which is, according to the figures, the most visited museum in the world. 8 million people a year come to this museum, and you can see why, with all these landmarks in aviation history hanging from the ceiling. The entrance to the museum is absolutely free. So this is where it all started, modern flight as we know it. The Wright brothers flew this contraption, this is the actual contraption, in North Carolina in 1903. First flight only lasted for
12 seconds.
12 seconds, was it? Thank you, David. Though they did manage a flight of a minute that day, and the rest, as they say, is history.
We can truly see these cities only with that other eye we opened not so long ago. And so we begin to realize that human destiny has ever been and always must be to fly.